Welcome here on College Basketball Review Studio. I'm Matt Baczynski. That's Dan Siegel. That is Ariel Puderman. Did you put your milk and cookies out for Bracket Clause? Because the NCAA tournament bracket is out. We are here in March Madness 2026. We have 68 teams in the field. No, we did not expand just yet, and it's the perfect amount because, guys, the committee really did do a pretty good job with this one. Probably the 68 most worthy teams when you look at automatic and at-large qualifiers, and we are here to break your bracket down region by region. We're going to start in the East region, and we'll take you through in 4 separate episodes. So, guys, let's just get it started right now because we want to pick these games. We want to take you through these regions, and no better way than to jump right into it. We don't really have to say much about this first one, but Dan, Duke, and Siena.
Yeah, I'll talk more long-term aspirations with Duke later. Shout out to Jerry McNamara, obviously, the ACC ties with Syracuse. Siena had the big upset over Merrimack in the MAC finals. First NCAA tournament appearance since 2010, but they're going to get clobbered.
Ariel, anything to add?
Nothing to add. Duke wins this one easily.
All I'm adding here is that I'm going to games in Tampa. Kind of wanted to see Siena. I don't get to see Siena, but I will be bringing my Jerry McNamara Syracuse jersey, and I'll be wearing that very proudly in the crowd. So hopefully the Saints can keep it within 30. All right, let's move on to the 8-9 game. It's Ohio State. It's TCU. I'll send it right back to you, Ariel, with your Big 12 Horned Frogs there. 8-9 games are always difficult. And, guys, this is, I believe this is the first game we have, actually. We got the West Coast times there, by the way, because Dan's on the West Coast. Yes, this is 9:15 on the West Coast, but this is 12:15 if you're here on the East Coast. Whatever time zone you are, just do the math. Ariel, TCU, Ohio State.
Yeah, what a great game to start this thing off. I mean, 2 teams that are trending in the right direction right now, and 2 teams that have shown that they could beat really quality teams. I don't think Duke should be too worried about them, but they're definitely not going to be easy matchups. We'll start with TCU. 2 really bad head-scratching losses. They lost to New Orleans in the season opener, and then, of course, they lost to Utah, one of the worst team in the Big 12. Then Ohio State, they really struggled against quality opponents, but they're red hot right now. And I think this comes down to who wins between the guards and the bigs. You have the 2 guards for Ohio State and Bruce Thornton and John Mobley. And then for TCU, you have Xavier Edmonds and David Punch. So it's going to be interesting to see which battle wins. I trust TCU's coaching more with Jamie Dixon, but I trust the experienced guard play of Bruce Thornton to be able to hit those big shots down the stretch. I don't think TCU has that player. So I'm going to go with the Buckeyes to win this one.
I'm going to go Buckeyes as well. Yeah, the 5th hottest team in the field, the Buckeyes are per Haslametrics Momentum. Haslametrics Momentum, a good stats to look at when you're filling out your bracket. Just compares your recent results weighted more heavily compared to your overall results. I don't trust TCU's backcourt as much. I don't think Ohio State will struggle with their size. So yeah, I'm going to go Ohio State.
Yeah, I'm actually going to go Ohio State here as well, guys. So weird that we have a 3-for-3 in an 8-9 matchup, and simply for me, it's Bruce Thornton. I will say, obviously, Ohio State is prone to legendary guards, unfortunately, getting eliminated sooner than you would like them to. Cough, cough, Aaron Kraft back in the day, but that's not to say that the Buckeyes can't go on a run here or at least win one game here, and I have Ohio State winning this first-round matchup. Also do want to say before we move on to the next one, Dan, I suddenly feel bad that you're on West Coast time and have to start watching games at 9:15 in the morning. Like, I feel like I'd like at least to eat my breakfast before I turn on my TV for that. But
yeah, did not realize that I put the times there on the screen. But yeah, there's pros and cons. That's different conversation.
I'm on the other side. I feel like waking up and immediately not having to sit and wait just for March Madness to start. Just wake up and immediately have games to watch. That's a dream for me.
Interesting. No matter what, it's fun, right? Because you get games all day. But yeah, 9:15. Whew. Let's go to St. John's in Northern Iowa. I'll talk about this one. Guys, look, Northern Iowa leads the country in defensive points per game. So this is a Northern Iowa team that could definitely give St. John's some trouble here. With that being said, after watching St. John's just dominate the Big East tournament, while I could see UNI giving them some trouble in spurts, Zuby Ejiofor is a man. Like, that guy is probably the toughest player to defend in this tournament, just pure toughness. And I have St. John's winning this game, but I would not be surprised if this is a 10-point game or less in the final 7 or 8 minutes. Missouri Valley is a tough conference. UNI's had a lot of time off, but I do have St. John's winning it. Ariel, do you have anything different?
I don't. I think that Northern Iowa is a good team, and I think if they got matched up with some of those other fives, then they'd have a better chance. But I think the St. John's team is pretty 12 seed upset proof. They just have so much talent, so much size. I think they're going to dominate them physically. So yeah, I think St. John's wins this game.
I will. I also have St. John's. I will add, I think they kind of got a little screwed with the getting on the 5 line. I do think this region in general, we'll talk about it more in a little bit, but like this region in general, Duke did not get any favors by being the number 1 overall seed. But yeah, I'm St. John's over Northern Iowa, probably by like 10 to 12 points.
Yeah, we're all in agreement there. Let's go to Kansas and Cal Baptist. Ariel, your Big 12 and your Jayhawks, so we need to hear from you first on this one.
Guys, I brought my shirt, of course. The Kansas Jayhawks, the Slammin' Jayhawks. Same situation here. Like I think Kansas is definitely can get upset. We saw them lose a couple games like against Arizona State late in the season, but when you have a guy like Darren Peterson who can just light it up, and you have the size and athleticism of Floyd Badunga, as long as they don't let Cal Baptist dominate them on the boards, especially the offensive glass, I think they win this one pretty easily. Are they win by 14.5? I don't think so. I think it's going to be a little closer than that, honestly, but I trust Bill Self to not get upset in the first round of back-to-back years.
I think I do as well. Cal Baptist does have this superstar we have to talk about. Name is Dominique Daniels. He's averaging 23 points per game. He had 19-plus points per game in the previous 2 seasons as well. So he has just scored a ton of points in his college career. Also had 41 and then 23 in the WAC tournament. Like, this guy, he's going to go off. I just think he's going to go off and put up 25 in a loss. And, yeah, I'm going to go with Kansas.
Yeah, and that's my thing. Like, I'm also very glad that I stayed up until like 2:30 in the morning to watch that Cal Baptist Utah Valley final on into Sunday morning, because that was just a great game. And I'm glad because I now know that, like, hey, Dominique Daniels is an important guy to scout. But yeah, guys, when you look at the rest of like the metrics and Cal Baptist overall, it's literally a one-man show. They're not real efficient on offense. They don't really create a lot of extra points for themselves in the turnover battle. Like there's just a lot that could go wrong for this Cal Baptist team. And if Daniels gets shut down, I mean, I could see Kansas winning this game by 25, 30 points and absolutely running away with it. So all in agreement there, but hey, you never know if Daniels, has a Max Asmus type tournament. I just don't see it happening with the rest of that roster. Let's move on to the bottom half of the bracket. It is Louisville. It is South Florida. I'm going to go ahead and toss this one to Dan.
Yeah. Louisville is a team that's very dedicated to shooting threes, of course. They're inconsistent, to say the least. So, like, when I'm looking at a first-round matchup with the Cardinals, I look at what kind of team will they succeed against, or what type of team will they struggle against, more like. And I think it's going to be someone that could guard the line very well and a team that could clear the glass very well. And I don't think South Florida really does either particularly well, which is why I'm confident in the Cardinals here. Wasn't necessarily confident in them winning a game before the bracket, but I like their draw here. Will Mikael Brown play? That's always a factor. Ryan Conwell, of course, is the X factor. Will he shoot the ball efficiently? But I think like Brown will probably determine my pick if we find out beforehand. But I think right now I got to go with Louisville.
That same problem as if Brown's going to play because he sat out the ACC tournament. He's been in and out of the lineup all season long. I think he's going to play, to be honest. It seems like the reason they held him out of the tournament is so that he can have time to recover and play in this first round, and obviously all 6 games if they make it that far. But I'm actually going to go with the first upset of this podcast and go with South Florida. I just love what they do down low with Isaiah Nelson, a guy who can score, rebound, shoot, defend, steals, blocks, everything like that. And I don't think Louisville really has a guy in the front court that can really stop that. And then you got a guy like Wes Enos who can just get red hot and hit 6 or 7 threes. And guys like that's the kind of team with the balance that they have that can really strive at March Madness. And we saw what Louisville did last year in the first round against Creighton. They just didn't look that great. And Pat Kelsey, I know, like, obviously it's a much different situation when you're coaching at Charleston versus when you're coaching at Louisville, but he just really hasn't shown that he could get it done in March. And I think South Florida can, and I think that they're going to pull off the first upset of March Madness.
Yeah, like it's crazy when you look at this South Florida team. I mean, at the beginning of the season, they were keeping it close. They beat some tournament teams as well. This is a South Florida team that beat Utah State. They kept it close with Alabama on the road. They kept it close with Oklahoma State, with VCU. They beat some other tournament teams as well, like Kennesaw State, who obviously got in after winning CUSA. So it's a South Florida team, though, that at first, defense was a huge problem. They could score the ball. Then, when they got into American play, guys, recently, it's kind of been like, hey, this Bulls team has really been defending. Like, you look at how they shut down a lot of these teams in the American. Obviously, they're still prone to giving up points, but in their last 7 games, guys, they only allowed over 70 points one time, and it was a 96-89 win over Memphis, where they had the offense to get it done. So I just love the role this South Florida team has been on. Obviously, it seems like Mikal Brown is going to play, but how healthy will he be? And one more tidbit for you, Brian Hodgson, a bit of a homecoming for him. He's from the Buffalo area. He's from Olean. He played and did his first coaching stints over in at Jamestown at Fredonia State. So this game's in Buffalo. It's going to be a homecoming for him. I think that the home crowd will rally around him because we all know that Syracuse is going after him. So obviously you're going to have fans from all these different teams, but you're going to have people in the area going to this game that are going to be cheering on South Florida and Brian Hodgson if they think he's going to be the next local coach. I just think all that adds up for it to be a pro crowd for South Florida. And it's my favorite 6-11 game. It's honestly my favorite first round game of this entire NCAA tournament. And I'm picking the upset as well. Let's move on to Michigan State and North Dakota State. Tom Izzo going against the Summit League champs. Ari, I'll toss it back to you for this one.
I don't really have much to say. I don't think Izzo is going to lose in the first round, especially when you have a player like Jeremy Fears. I think that they're just going to beat them in really every single category, and I don't really see how North Dakota State can win this one. So I'll keep it short and sweet and go Michigan State.
Yeah, the thing about North Dakota State, they have in the past trotted out some really explosive offensive teams. This is not really one of them. Nobody on their team is averaging more than 15 points per game. They do play a pair of 6'10 bigs, Trayvon Anderson and Noah Federson, but I think they kind of spell each other for the most part. They're not going to be on the court at the same time. They don't do anything really unique. I think Michigan State just wins.
Yeah, I'm going to be honest. I'll keep it close to, or keep it short too, guys. Like North Dakota State, great record. We know that program has done stuff in the past, but like overall, yeah. I mean, this is looking like it's going to be a pro Michigan State win by, I'd say, in the area of about 20 points. But hey, you never know. It's March Madness for a reason. 2 more in this region. We got UCLA. We got Central Florida. Some injury concerns lately for the Bruins guys. But if we have a healthy Bruins team, which is it's looking like we will, do they get past Central Florida here in Johnny Dawkins? Ariel, you first.
Yeah, if they're healthy, absolutely. I mean, we've seen how good Dent has been in the last 10 games. He's probably one of the best passers in the country. I mean, he's averaging it seems like 12 to 13 assists every day, and he's also been able to score the ball. And Bilodeau as well, if he's healthy, then he's probably the best player on the court at all times, if not for Dent. And then you look at UCF's last 5 games. Lost to Baylor, lost to Oklahoma State, lost to West Virginia, 3 teams that are nowhere near the tournament. They beat Cincinnati in a game they really should have lost in the second round of the Big 12 tournament, and then they get blown out by Arizona. So that's not a team that shows that they can win a game like this, and especially when you're playing a team with a ton of momentum in UCLA, I think both teams are going different ways, and that's why the Bruins are going to get this one done.
Yeah, I agree with that. I'm going UCLA. I do not love either of these teams, I will say. I just think it sets up a lot more favorably for the Bruins. They're more well-rounded. They can kind of dictate their style a little bit more. Like, I think Dent and Bilodeau should be playing, I think.
I don't think they've said anything yet. I think Dent for sure has a chance. Bilodeau's, I'd say he's trending down.
That's the problem with speculating before the lineups are really set. Of course, we want to get the content out early, but again, that might be one of the ones I allow myself to go back and forth before the game. I don't like UCF though. I'm going to go UCLA.
Yeah, I'll just be honest, guys. Like if as long as Donovan Dent plays, I just think that this is a type of game that he can just kind of take over. 2 great point guards in this battle. Themis Folks on UCF and Donovan Dent, 2 of the top 5 active leaders in assists. We talk about Braden Smith all the time, but you can't forget about Dent. I mean, he had a couple big games as far as assists go, really leading this UCLA team in the Big Ten tournament. And I think he's going to lead them to a round 1 win here against UCF. I'll keep things for the final one. It's 2 seed UConn. It's 15 seed Furman. Guys, honestly, Haven't watched a lot of Furman this year because they really were not one of the top teams in the SoCon. Bob Ritchie is a great coach. With that being said, this is not a great team. Furman turns the ball over a lot. They don't really shoot at a high clip. I'll just be honest. I think UConn, this could be one of the highest totals that we see in the first round. I think that UConn wins by 30 or more. Ariel, you got a take on that?
I'll just say that no team has broken my heart more times this year than Furman. This was a team that I was super high on in the preseason, and anytime I got my hopes up, they just let me down. There's a big reason why we really haven't picked any upsets in this region, is just because it's so top heavy. I mean, these are championship contenders, those first top 5 seeds. And in a game like this, especially with the coaching, we'll talk about coaching a little bit later, but you trust Hurley to get out of the first round, especially as a 2 seed. So agreed with you on the UConn pick.
Yeah, not the same Furman team that beat UVA.
Yeah,
give me the Huskies.
All right, so we got our first round picks, guys. Let's move it back to the top of the region, and we're going to talk about, what does this region shape up for? What teams does it maybe agree with the most? So, Dan, I'll go back up to you. Just give me your overall thoughts on the top of the region here in the East.
Yeah, top of the region. I think Duke has a pretty clear path to the Sweet 16. I don't think that I don't see the 8-9 winner as really a threat to them. I am really, if Kansas and St. John's, both of their first round matchups are chalky, I am very, very intrigued by a second round game there. I think I like St. John's more because I'm not sure I trust the Jayhawks to be consistent. But man, that front court matchup of Badunga versus Ejiofor, that'll be phenomenal. But I think Duke, it really shapes up the best for them. I'm not worried about their outlook.
I think the big question with Duke is who's playing. We saw Caleb Foster's got a pretty serious injury that I think a lot of people are expecting him to stay out of the tournament, at least till the Final Four. And obviously he was a huge impact player. He's not going to make or break Duke winning or losing, but on a team that already doesn't have great guard depth, losing your starting point guard is going to be big. And then even bigger is Ngongba. He missed the whole ACC tournament. I think the belief is he's going to play, but we haven't really gotten a clear update on him. So if they're down 2 starters, yes, you can make it through the ACC tournament, but when you have to go up against a team like St. John's or Kansas, that might cause trouble. So that'll definitely be something to watch. And then, like you mentioned, the coaches are awesome. You got Shire, you got potentially Jamie Dixon, or I think Diebler's held his own the last 2 years, although a lot of people probably disagree with that. And they got Patino and Self, maybe the 2 best active coaches in college basketball. So I'm really excited for those potential matchups. This could be the most fun region when we look at the second weekend, without a doubt.
Yeah.
I'm going to add one thing to here because I already picked my bracket and I ended up going with St. John's. This was my least favorite part of the bracket to pick a team out of any top or bottom half of a region. But I just like how it's shaping up for them. I mean, you look at potential teams here, and again, I do expect Aaron Peterson to be playing and on no minutes restriction or whatever you want to call it. But I was just very impressed. I obviously watch a lot of Big East basketball. Thought it was a new St. John's team. I thought last year when it headed into March Madness, a lot of people were picking St. John's, but there still were question marks. I think this team has a higher ceiling than last year's St. John's team. Last year's team may be more consistent. I think the bottom of this team could get beat by Kansas. They obviously could get tested by UNI. I think the ceiling of this St. John's team could end up beating a Duke team that might have some injury problems even as we go further along into this March Madness. So, yeah, I think it's shaping up for them. And I'll get on the coaches in a little bit because I have a cool fun fact for you guys, but I'll wait until the end of our podcast episode here to get to that. And instead, I'll send it right back to Ariel. Bottom half of the bracket, what are you thinking here when we look at these 8 teams in this region?
Again, it's come down to coaching. The potential Izzo versus Hurley matchup. I think that's going to be one to watch. And then a team like UCLA, if Bilodeau and Dent are healthy, just the way they played the last month, almost maybe a little bit less, just the way they played compared to UConn, who besides that dominant win against St. John's, they kind of played a lot of teams that they should have won easily close. So could that be a potential 7-2 upset? If South Florida makes it, can they continue their momentum against the Michigan State team? That's probably got a higher floor, but I think matches up pretty well with South Florida. I think those are some interesting storylines. But like I said early on, just the top of the league is just so dominant that it would be pretty shocking to see a team lower than 5 make the Sweet 16.
I really like this for Michigan State. I'm not worried about Tom Izzo in March. Really, I don't think Louisville South Florida will pose that much of a threat to them. They're just they're just bigger and more physical than just all these teams. And I think that's really going to play well for them, just their front court and then Jeremy Fears. So yeah, I like Michigan State. UConn could have trouble with UCLA, but I think it goes chalky there as well.
I actually have UConn, and I have a fourth meeting between UConn and St. John's this season. And I really didn't want to go with this because I don't love picking certain teams from a conference, especially one that I watch a lot. But I do know that, again, at the height of this UConn team, Terrace Reed is a matchup problem. Braylon Mullins can really let it fly from deep. He had a real bad Big East championship game, but that guy can be a difference maker. When I look at UConn's physicality, I don't care if they play UCLA or UCF. I don't think any of those teams match up against UConn on the boards. And I think once they get to a potential game against Michigan State, which is what to me it would be shaping up for, I just like UConn's overall roster and depth over this Spartans team. I think that it's a really good Michigan State team. But yeah, it's kind of crazy. I do have to say this. The one thing I thought the tournament got wrong with the potential of having a fourth game between UConn and St. John's would be interesting, but it obviously would be fun because a lot of the matchups, even though they haven't been close, they've been real fun to watch. So I do have UConn out in here. Let's move to the full bracket. All 16 teams here in the East region. We got no play-in games, so it is a straight 16 teams. Who do we have winning this entire region? Dan, I'll go to you first.
Yeah, I've got Duke. Ariel mentioned it. I'm worried about their two guys in Gumba and Foster potentially being absent. It really takes away one of the competitive advantages Duke has, and that's really just how tough and they are in terms of the boards and getting the loose balls and all that. I was still very impressed by in that department what they did against Virginia. Duke without these two guys, it means they have holes, but they are still really, really good. They got the National Player of the Year in Boozer. They have, a shutdown defender in Sarr, and they, shooting not explosive, but they shoot pretty consistently. With their defense and then their options on offense, it's got to be Duke.
Yeah, I agree. I think Cam Boozer is just too good, and there's really no one, if you look at who's in their path, that can really shut him down. Maybe Flory, but that's about it. And then I think UConn. I think this is gonna be a chalky region, even though there are so many great teams. I just trust Dan Hurley in March when he has a team that's actually in a situation where they can compete for a national championship. And while I don't think they'll beat Duke, I think they're good enough to get past this Michigan State team and get past either UCLA or UCF. So give me the 1 versus 2. I know that's boring, but I truly believe they're the two best teams.
And I already told you I have St. John's. I actually agree with you or disagree with you, Ariel. I do think that Zuby Ejiofor could really give Cameron Boozer a tough time. I just think I look at him as someone who quite literally was just ripping the ball away from Terrace Reed on certain plays at the end of the Big East Championship. Terrace Reed is a very big guy, not in the same category as Cameron Boozer. Obviously, Zuby and Cameron have different skill sets, but I just look at him as a guy who can really affect the game and kind of change it. It all depends if the refs are going to allow that, because obviously Big East ball is different than March Madness ball. So yeah, I do have St. John's coming out of here, and I'm going with my pro Big East colors in this region. Here's my fun fact for you guys. Rick Pitino, Bill Self, Tom Izzo, Jamie Dixon, Mick Cronin, all in this region. They together are 5 of the 14th winningest active coaches in all of college basketball, all stacked in their region. That is not counting Ben Jacobson, who's a couple away from 400 at UNI, and that is not counting 2-time national champion Dan Hurley. So think about that for a moment. And there's other great coaches in here as well. You got Brian Hodgin, you got Pat Kelsey. You could just go on and on. So this is the region of coaches. It is the East region. Guys, it is going to be a fun region. We got 1 down. We got 3 more to go. And for you guys that are listening and here with us as we wrap up this first one, we're doing all our region previews in one sitting. So don't be alarmed when you see us sitting here and you're like, why is this the 4th episode I've watched and they've got the same clothes on? We promise we did not get up. We did not record this when we got up in the morning. We are sitting through it through the night. and we hope you enjoy the rest of our content. Make sure to hit that sub button as always, and we'll talk to you with our next region preview coming up next.